Hello, everyone, and welcome to Video Games and Coffee. I'm your host, Daniel, and today I'd like to talk about a game that was released in 2018 by a game developer and publisher based in Hamburg, Germany. They were unknown to me prior to me playing the game I'm covering for today's episode, and I do so love discovering smaller game companies that you can tell really put in the time and try to create a unique experience and story. So for today's episode and the game I'm about to talk about, its main character is somewhat of a total douchebag, and you can't help but like him and get him through his journey and see how his story plays out. You know, he's kind of like Stifler, man. You really enjoy hating him. So for today's episode, let's talk about the futuristic cyberpunk game State of Mind. Well, welcome back, everyone. Those of you who are returning listeners, and welcome to any new listeners. I am Daniel. This is Video Games and Coffee. So today's episode, State of Mind. This is one of those games where I've played through it twice, and I loved it. I wanted to make an episode about it, but struggled to actually talk about it. It's a bit hard to follow, even the second time through. So today I'll be talking about what I did understand and what I essentially really got out of it. So State of Mind came out August 15th of 2018. And now here, like I do in almost every episode with a name, I'm going to butcher this one. Daedalic Entertainment. Daedalic Entertainment. That was the developer and the publisher. It was directed by Martin Gantifor. That's a very metal name. I mean, geez, any name that has an O with the two little dots over it, you know, it's very metal and very strong sounding. I love that. Geez, it came out for everything. It came out for Windows, Linux, PS4, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One. It is a single-player game set in the third-person perspective. It's an adventure game. It's very set in a very Blade Runner-esque kind of dystopian city. Like I said, it is hard to follow. At times, you don't really know what's going on, but I think that's the charm of it. I mean, I did play it twice through. I actually played it through twice on the Nintendo Switch. Even though I have it on all the other consoles, I enjoyed just doing it on the go on the Nintendo Switch. It looks really good. So it is set in Berlin in the year 2048. That's the dystopian Berlin. That's the dystopian setting of the game. Now, there is a utopia of the game called City 5, and you essentially go back and forth and play between the setting in Berlin and City 5. You play as two different characters, actually. You play as Richard Nolan. He's the douchebag that I told you about in the intro. And then you also play as Adam Newman in City 5 in the Utopia. And the Berlin setting is very, very dark, very grim. Utopia, City 5 is very, a lot of bright colors, very white, clear blue skies. Everybody's friendly. Everything's essentially perfect. And I really love the contrast of those two worlds within the game. Now, in the game's description online, it states that the world is running low on resources, crime is on the rise, pollution is causing illnesses. So instantly you think, well, holy shit, how did the world get so bad? Bad word. Okay. Okay, I deserve that. I got my little boy here right now, and I knew if I slipped up, he was going to give me a tongue lashing. So
Welcome to Video Games and Coffee.
Welcome to Video Games and Coffee. That's right.
Well, welcome to Video Games and Coffee.
That's right, pal. Good job.
Boo,
Good
boo,
job.
Boo, boo.
All right. Well, that was my little boy in there. So you know what? I just had my first guest on the show. So hey, you you heard it here first, folks. It was the first time here. So but oh my God, jeez, where was I? I got my notes here and I got completely sidetracked. So all right, Berlin 2048, dystopian city. All right. So you think how did the world get so bad? The real shocker, though, is the fact that the game does take place in Berlin, and there isn't one character with a German accent. And now, to be fair, it's not entirely clear that this is Berlin in Germany, just because the publisher and developer is German. I mean, shit, there is a Paris, Kentucky. so, but given that old Richard travels back and forth to New York in the game in what seems like 15 minutes, you can't help but wonder where this game's Berlin actually is. Now, the game's visual style, it is a low poly art kind of style. For those of you that don't really know what that means, or you may not know what it's called, essentially everything, like the characters, everything around it just looks like shards of glass kind of put together. So it is a very, I'm trying to think of a game that we would know. I know. If you ever played that game Superhot, that is essentially kind of what this game is. But still, it's again, that's one of the charms of this game. I love the visuals of it. But yes, it is the low poly art, and you are more likely to find details in individual strands of hair or skin pores in a Super Mario game than you will here. So don't expect high levels of granular detail. But I mean, all joking aside, for whatever reason that style was chosen, I'm glad that they did choose it, because I think with the whole cyberpunk and futuristic theme of the game, I thought that choice complemented that genre very well. So the characters of the game, you have Richard Nolan. He is played by Doug Cockle, and you will know him probably more so as being Geralt. I never played the Witcher games, but I think that's how you pronounce the name, Geralt of the Witcher series. Tracy Nolan, played by Layla Pine. James Nolan, Cody Mulco. Adam Newman, Ronan Summers. John in the game is played by Cody Mulco also. Lydia is played by Alexa Khan. Dr. Sykes, John Guarasio. Guarasio. Yep, I think that's how you pronounce it. The character named Kurtz in the game, played by Bill Roberts. And Walter, he's not a character in the game. He is Richard's friend. He's played by Toby Longworth. So just a quick shout out to all the actors and actresses that contributed for the cause for State of Mind. Now, Richard and Adam, they live in separate worlds in the game that you kind of go back and forth. So Richard and Adam are total polar opposites. It goes between the two worlds of Berlin and City 5, those two realities, and you don't really know why, because there's really no warning. So you start the game as Richard, you play for a little bit, and then boom, you wake up, and like you go to sleep, you take a nap or something, and you wake up and you're Adam Newman now in a completely different setting. So, depending on the tasks, objectives, missions, whatever you want to call it for the game, whenever you complete something, you usually switch over to the other side and now play the other characters from the other character's point of view. Now, for the gameplay, the controls are okay. They get a little wonky as far as movement. I don't know if it's because of the Nintendo Switch. It's very short throw joysticks. If you have a Switch, you'll know that the joysticks are so short, it's almost like you can't really control in very, in granular kind of like very tiny little movements to be precise, because it almost feels very digital, man. You're either going left or not, right or not. You can't go left very slow, So, some games you see that effect more so than others. But so I don't know if it's because of that. So the movements of the game controlling the character, Richard or Adam, sometimes you get caught, like maybe you're facing a wall and you can't, it's just like, God, I just want to just turn around. But other than that, it's not too bad. The difficulty of the game, it's not difficult at all. There's a couple of little missions, little tasks that you have to do that is a little hard to understand. And I think it's because of the artwork, just the art style of the game. You don't really know what you're supposed to be doing. They don't really put it right in front of you. any type of tutorial kind of deal. So, but yeah, there's a couple of frustrating parts in the game. Not too bad, nothing you can't get through. I mean, overall, some of the puzzles in the game, puzzles, I say puzzles, but things you got to figure out. It's not super challenging. There is one puzzle in the game that if you've played through it, or if you think about playing through it, oh my god, it revolves like this spinning platform, and you will know exactly what I'm talking about. So please reach out when you reach that part and tell me how crazy you went trying to figure it out. But ultimately, it's not that bad. You can get through the game, no problem. And the story is really what keeps you going. The story is what keeps you going more so than the gameplay. So, for example, a game like, any game I've covered, Mirror's Edge, Watch Dogs, Days Gone, that kind of stuff. The gameplay is very satisfying, but also the story is very satisfying. State of Mind in particular, you really want to get through it to see actually what the hell is going on and what happens to Richard ultimately at the end. The soundtrack is pretty good. I got the soundtrack. I do love it. It's by a band. It's either a band or a musical project, maybe one person, I'm not sure, called Go Zebra Go. It does have got over 20 tracks. I think it's got like 25, 26 tracks on it. The music's very, very good, and it really adds to the feel of the game, the cyberpunk kind of genre, and nothing seems off about it. And I talk about music in games all the time. It's very important. It's a huge contributing factor that adds to the overall feel of it. So when you first start a new game in State of Mind, you basically see Richard. It's a little cinematic, a little montage going on, and you see Richard in the back of an ambulance. He's being rushed to, obviously, the hospital. He's being taken care of by this android that's, taking his vitals and all that. And then it cuts to the outside world where it's very hectic, chaos, violence. The police are robots, and they are kicking the shit out of what looks like homeless people. I don't know. It's weird, man. So that goes on for a minute or so, and then your gameplay starts with Richard waking up in the hospital, and he's all better. In fact, he's feeling so good that he's wearing the same clothes that he wore on his way in. It's just, it seemed like what had just happened to Richard happened about 3.5 minutes prior to him waking up, and so you don't really know how long he's been in there. It could have been for a few days. I don't know, but he wakes up. You talk to the doctor, and you go through the motions a little bit to kind of get to know the controls and movement and what the buttons do, and the doctor asks you some questions. You answer to kind of test to see how your memory is and all that, and then you're released, and you go home, and home is an unbelievably impressive, what looks like a penthouse on what looks to be the 80th floor of a high-rise. And I know Richard in the game is a writer, and he works for what I think is like the newspaper. And by the way, the newspaper is literally next door. The building next door, that's work for him. So his commute is baller, man. And so is his apartment, because his apartment reminds me of Tony Stark's penthouse that he gets thrown out of by Loki in the first Avengers movie. And it's a gorgeous place with, it's nothing but windows and all that. So shit, how he can afford that, I have no idea. But, the apartment is really cool. But the thing is, what starts off the game, and his motivation and, the plot is his wife and son are missing. So he basically wakes up from the hospital, leaves, gets home, wife and son are gone. So really that's what the game is, to find out what happened to your wife and son. Now he gets home and he finds, and speaking of Tony Stark, he finds what looks to be like a butler android named Simon, which that's pretty awesome. Essentially his Jarvis. And he, think of Simon as a more intelligent Alexa or Google or Siri. But instead he actually does shit around the house. Simon's cool, and they show no love to Roomba though, man, because he's got a little vacuum thing, like a little Roomba shit, and that's like the one thing in the apartment that's broken and doesn't work that he complains about. So they really did Roomba dirty on this one. But so Richard hates Simon. He didn't know Simon was there. It seems that his wife got Simon while he was away at the hospital or whatever. And you'll find that Richard hates technology. He believes technology, robots, everything is a huge contributor to the way his world is now in 2048. So he's not a fan of Simon at all, and he's a total douche to Simon. It's just, I believe one line, if I remember correctly, is Simon was about to say something to be very helpful to Richard, and Richard cuts him off and says, "You shut your mouth." So that's the kind of shit I'm talking about. So Richard, you'll find out very early on that you can talk to very hologram-like, very very Star Wars-like. You can call somebody, and like a hologram of them is poof, like right there in front of you. And you have to make calls like that and receive calls in the game to progress through the story. And he talks to a young girl named Lydia, which you find out that they got something going on. And you don't know what, you don't know why, what the whole story is, but it kind of alludes to the fact that Richard is very unhappy in his marriage. Him and his wife, they fight all the time, blah blah blah. The whole other woman kind of deal, and when are you going to tell her, that kind of stuff. So you really get the sense that Richard is not a real big fan of his wife, but he is very dedicated to his son. That's really, his drive throughout the game. It is both of them, but you really see that he enjoys being, a dad. So that's really how the events start. And very soon after this, you got to perform a series of things that you got to do, interactions with the environment, try to figure out, what, did his wife leave with somebody, or was she kidnapped, or, it's, you don't know what's going on. But eventually you lay down for a little snoozer, and then boom, you wake up as Adam Newman in Adam's very bright, perfect, utopia of City 5. And you're like, immediately like, who the hell is this? Like, what's going on? Now, when Adam wakes up, you see his apartment and, Richard Nolan's apartment. It's kind of a mirror image of each other. Even the layout is the same, only in very different settings. One very dark. Believe me, the sun doesn't even exist in Richard's world. You never see the sun at all. It's kind of like the Matrix, man. Something scorched the sky, and we don't really know what that was. But in Adam Newman's City 5, everything's very bright blue sky. Sun's always shining. Even the music is very different. The music is very soothing. And then you're trying to figure out what happened with Nolan and his family, and now all of a sudden you're playing as somebody else. You're like, who is this? But that hooks you in. That's why I kept playing the game. In fact, twice through. So it is a little, kind of a thriller mystery set in a cyberpunk world. Now, as far as the ending goes, it definitely could have a little more meat on those bones. I don't want to put anybody off. I don't want to, seem like I'm bashing it. I really don't. I really enjoyed the game. I really think everybody should give it a shot. I really think this developer should get, the attention that they deserve. But the ending was a bit strange. I had to head straight to YouTube afterwards to really kind of get clarification, because I left it just thinking, what just happened? There are a couple of endings to it. So there are alternate endings. In my opinion, neither one really makes a difference. It's kind of both the same. It's, without giving anything away, I don't want you to go into it thinking the ending is going to completely blow you away. there's still a lot of loose ends, things that are kind of left unexplained, kind of a mysterious ending. It's I don't know. It's really hard to explain, but the ending is very quick, very abrupt after you make your choice at the end on what you want to do, and you're left with a little, so what's next? But yeah, so just because the ending didn't really wow me or blow my hair back, I still think everyone should give it a shot. This developer really deserves the credit and the attention to have people try out this game. There's obviously a lot of time and thought and effort went into it. So give it a shot and see if you like it. You'll know you like it within the first 5 to 10 minutes. You'll either put it down or you'll keep going, and hopefully you'll keep going, and hopefully you can reach out and tell me what you thought. But that's it for this episode on State of Mind by God, I know I'm going to butcher this one. Daedalic. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely doing it just crazy wrong, and it's I think it's Daedalic. Look them up, see what they've done. Tell me what you think of State of Mind. I hope you enjoy it. I really liked it. And as far as the next episode, I'm not sure what I'm going to cover. I'm playing a couple of games on my Steam Deck. That's right. I thought about doing an episode on the Steam Deck itself because I finally got mine in. And I don't know. I think I've discussed this on the last episode. I don't know if I'm going to really cover game consoles. But if I do, I definitely got to talk about the Steam Deck. It really is... It is a game changer for sure. So I'm playing a couple of games on it. What's really nice is you can take it anywhere, and if I have a few free minutes, 10, 15 minutes, turn it on, and it's real quick speed. It's a very speedy little device. Everything boots up real quick. Everything runs fantastic on it. I mean, I can tell you, it's no secret. A couple of games I'm playing Death Stranding. I'm actually playing Quantum Break again because I wanted to play it on, do the PC version, and I wanted to see what it looks like on the Steam Deck, and it looks just fantastic. Playing Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. Both of those games are definitely coming as episodes. I love those games. I think Hideo Kojima is an absolute artist. Everything he puts out is wonderful, absolute masterpiece. So it's probably going to be one of those two games. I'm not sure which one yet. Probably it might be Metal Gear Solid because I actually played that through twice, and I'm playing it now on the Steam Deck just to get the experience with the Steam Deck, and it plays really good. Now Death Stranding I'm actually playing for the first time, so I don't really have much to talk about it right now. Although if I get a little further into it, because this game, this show is all about game first impressions. I always go over what to expect when you boot it up, which I can do now, but I want to put a little more time into it before talking about it. I am really enjoying it. I think it's wonderful. It's not like anything you've seen before. So, and that goes without saying. It's Hideo Kojima. He's an artist, and everything, in my opinion, everything he puts out is fantastic. So that wraps up this episode. Episode 16, State of Mind. I had to actually look at my save file here when I was like, that's pathetic. Episode 16, State of Mind. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much for making it this far. Everybody take care. Be safe. Have fun. Be good to each other. And I'll talk to you next time. We'll be right back.